Right now, as an amateur, I fought at 125. I feel so comfortable at 126. This is my weight class. And now I want to do something for myself and become undisputed champion and first unified champion. So, and I also want to give that to Puerto Rico, being the first undisputed champion. So I want to do this for me right now. Everyone's doing their own thing for themselves. So I just want to, be able to accomplish this goal that I have. And then after that, then it's whoever they want.
I'm going to say this because I think it's important to clarify that while I'm not a fan of some of the things Amanda has done and some of the things that Amanda has said, I am a fan of this endeavor. I think it's what her career needs. I think it's the opportunity here and now when women's boxing is getting far more attention than it's ever gotten. I think that this endeavor to unify the featherweight division, the division where Amanda says she feels she's at her best, this is her natural weight, in spite of her having held titles in 7 weight classes, the featherweight division is her preferred division. I support this move to unify with Serrano and subsequently move on from that into the undisputed title fight against Jelena Marjanovic. I'll tell you the truth. Amanda Serrano is the apex predator as far as featherweights go. Different weight classes, it could become a lot more contentious, especially if we're talking about super featherweight, lightweight, super lightweight, etc., etc. But in the featherweight division, 126 pounds, Amanda Serrano is the apex predator here. I give her good odds to accomplish this goal when that fight with Sarah Mahfoud is rescheduled, and let's hope that it is, because I think it's important for Amanda to get this notch on her belt, especially now that women's boxing is getting far more exposure, far more eyes, far more ears, and far more attention than it's ever gotten in the past. The thing about Amanda is she might have a sense of entitlement because she's already been in the sport for so long. She debuted in 2009, I think it was. We're here in 2020. She's a 7-division champion, having a very accomplished record, though not having the matching marquee value that complements that accomplished record, accomplished career. We can nitpick over what's there, and we can nitpick over what's not there, but at the end of the day, I do think Amanda Serrano is a good fighter. How good is the question? This endeavor will give us the answers. The last couple of years, most of the time we've talked about Amanda Serrano on this channel, it has been in reference to the failed set of negotiations with Katie Taylor. The fight that never was, but still might be, depending on how the cookie crumbles. As I stated in a previous video, I'm not actually holding my breath to see that fight come off. But that doesn't mean that Amanda Serrano can't get at what she's trying to get what she wants.
There's still time.
Amanda's only 32 years old. She's actually younger than Katie Taylor. And when you think about fighters like Barbie Juarez, Marcela Acuna, these fighters who are and were reigning world champions well into their 40s, there's plenty of time for Amanda Serrano to get at what she wants, and that's a little bit more recognition and more respectable purses.
How respectable are we talking about?
Well, that's the thing. If Amanda Serrano can accomplish this goal in the next 12 months, she will become the authority at this weight. And anybody's prospects climbing up these ranks, looking to become a world champion themselves, will have to go through her to do it. It just so happens that one of Matchroom's recent signees, Ellie Skotny, campaigns in the featherweight division. Timex Promotions, who are based out of Poland. Their new it girl, Laura Grzyb, also campaigns in the featherweight division. Essentially what I'm describing is a situation to where all these different promotional outfits that have got prospects passing through the featherweight division, if they have any aspirations of becoming world champions, they may end up having to go through Amanda to do it. And perhaps in that, she can get at the kind of places that she's been missing.
Perhaps.
The kind of places she's looking for.
Perhaps.
Because in any of those situations, she's going to be the A-side fighter, you understand? She's going to be the one calling the shots, more or less. You want a piece of what she's got, you've got to pay the piper. I'll reiterate, a lot of time gets spent talking about that Taylor versus Serrano fight. And given how many options Katie has, I'm not sure that Amanda Serrano fight will ever happen. And I feel like Amanda needs to disassociate herself from that, distance herself from that conversation, the bad taste that left in everyone's mouths, to focus on what she can do as a featherweight. I do think it's going to be a bit difficult because you won't draw as many eyes to your cards, to your fights on UFC Fight Pass as you would on a ESPN, a Fox, a Showtime, or even a DAZN. You won't draw as many eyes on UFC Fight Pass, but better still, Amanda is in the conversation now, and women's boxing is getting more attention and more exposure than it's ever gotten. The time to make history is now. In many ways, Amanda's already done that in becoming Puerto Rico's only 7-division champion. But those eggs have needed more bacon for a long time. And what she's got to do is put it on the plate.
She's got to take on world champions.
World champions like herself. More of them. The same way that Katie Taylor did, the same way that Clarissa Shields did, and is about to when that Marie-Eve Dicaire fight is ultimately rescheduled. That may help to get her the attention she's been missing because, if I'm being honest, that's what didn't happen in her career. She didn't unify. She never became undisputed at any of those 7 weight classes, those 7 divisions she has fought in. That's why it flew so low on the radar for so long. You gotta give people fights they're gonna remember, and that takes credible opponents. It takes credible scalps to make that impression on the boxing community at large. So what I'm hoping for is that the Sarah Mahfoud fight gets rescheduled, and we see, we take it from there.
Yeah, I'm pushing for her.
I can get behind this. I can get behind this endeavor, and I think she's got what it takes to get the job done once the situation with the global pandemic becomes more stable.
Considering that you could use that money elsewhere to invest in your rising stars, etc., do you want to keep Terence Crawford when the contract's up?
Depends on what the terms are and what the conditions are. You might very well say, Terence would had a great ride. We appreciate you being with us, but again, you're not affordable anymore, and go your own way, son.
To these kinds of talks coming from veteran promoter Bob Arum, Eddie Hearn has said he'd absolutely try to sign Terence Crawford if he becomes a free agent and is available next October. And that sounds good. That's promising that Terence Crawford has that option, that he could decide to become a matchroom fighter once his contract with Top Rank is up. And I told you guys in a previous video that this isn't about assigning blame. This has more to do with the state of the welterweight division than what Top Rank is or isn't doing, or what Terence Crawford is or isn't doing. That the guy's one of the most skilled fighters in the world. To some, he is the most skilled fighter in the world. But the problem is, he needs the opponents. And the opponents, well, they ain't Top Rank fighters. So until the state at welterweight changes, whether he's a Top Rank fighter or by some chance he becomes a matchroom fighter, one way or another, he's going to find himself in the same predicament. I mean, how much luck did Eddie Hearn have getting Jermall Charlo to fight his boy Demetrius Andrade? How much luck did he have with that? How much luck did he have getting Gervonta Davis to fight his boy Devin Farmer? How much luck did he have with that? It would be the exact same situation, just with a different promotional outfit. And if you're thinking that crossing over to the PBC side of things offers up any kind of a long-lasting solution to this issue, well, there's no guarantees that going over there gets him the fights that he's looking for, because there are guys over there that have been there already on the same side of the street as each other that never fought.
But when you really think about it, and my brother broke this down to me, I said, damn, it makes so much sense. Who is Spence, if he beats Garcia, who is Spence supposed to fight next, lined up to fight next? You smart, you know, supposedly be Porter, right?
Well, he's the mandatory again, right?
Okay,
right.
Porter. So they fight, big fight that year, great. All right, now he may fight at the end of the year, maybe not. I don't know. But then you got, who's next? Who else is over there?
Thurman still.
He fight Thurman. That's another, 2 years now, a year and a half from now?
So, Tim.
And then, wait, one more. And then possibly Pacquiao after that, if Pacquiao's still in the game. And then Terence Bud Crawford, when it's like 3 years, 2.5 years from now.
So what the hell is Terence supposed to do?
Listen, I don't give a dang. I don't give a dang if, just put it this way, if I give a dang, but if Terrence was to somewhat end up over there, I still don't see the fight happening. I still don't see the fight happening.
Why?
Why do you think?
Why?
What did I just say?
More loyal to the guys he's
More
already
loyal
had
to the
before.
guys, yep.
Yeah.
And then what? Oh, they're like the list that I just told you. And then come, okay, I'm the big fish. I got 2 titles or 3 titles, because if he beats Manny Pacquiao, he'll get the 3rd title. All right.
The only real flaw in Tim Bradley's doomsday scenario for Terrence Crawford is that I don't think that Manny Pacquiao is going to stick around that long. I don't think this guy sticks around another 2-3 fights, at least not in the sport of organized boxing. He probably has one more boxing match and goes into that Conor-McGregor crossover fight, at which point, if he retires, the next man in line to become the WBA welterweight champion is Yordenis Ugas, a PBC fighter, and what could be yet another alternative for Errol Spence to unify with, instead of Terrence Crawford. Tim Bradley is spot on. I'm going to tell you something, you're not going to like it. The truth is, we've been sitting here talking about sides of the street for like 2 years, but it's not actually about sides of the street, because Top Rank, PBC, Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, they made that fight, didn't they?
But they don't want to make this one.
So is it really about sides of the street? Is it really about what network and which guy fights on said network? Is that what it's really about? Or are you just using that as a crutch to avoid what is the most dangerous fighter at this weight? Because that's how it looks to me. I know that they'd like to keep as many of these fights in-house as they possibly can, exclusive to their network affiliates. I get that. But they did make that Tyson Fury-Deontay Wilder rematch, didn't they? And that was a cross-promotional, cross-network pay-per-view. So is it really sides of the street that's holding up the Crawford fight? Or is it that the PBC really doesn't like any of their guys' chances against him, against Crawford? Well, you probably liked Wilder's chances against Tyson Fury, even in the rematch. But with Crawford, it's a different story.
They'd probably sacrifice the expendable guys.
But it's the Spence fight we want to see. It's the Spence fight we're asking for, and it's the Spence fight that should happen if he makes his way past Danny Garcia. That's the only fight that needs to get made at 147 pounds. Now, just in keeping with the theme of All News Terrence Crawford, per tweet from Mike Kopinger, the numbers are in, per Nielsen Media and Research. Crawford versus Brook averaged 1.7 million viewers on ESPN and peaked at over 2 million. Another monster rating for Top Rank Boxing on ESPN following the success of Lomachenko versus Lopez. I think for Top Rank, this is very encouraging in reference to their relationship with ESPN moving forward. They are showing their worth, showing their value, that they can get eyes on their cards. They can get eyes on their programming. Even with a card like Crawford versus Brook, where for all accounts, you figured Crawford's going to go in there, beat this guy. A couple of outliers aside, a couple of very wishful Brits aside, who wanted to back their man, Kell Brock from Sheffield. A couple of outliers aside, it was a fight where the logical choice, the safe choice, was Terrence Crawford, but it still drew a lot of eyes to it. And this accents a few things. One, that there is an audience for Terrence Crawford. There is an audience for him, for his fights, in spite of Terrence Crawford not being as charismatic as some others, not being as talkative, not as much of a showman. In the ring, he's everything you want him to be, and he's everything that he needs to be, and that's where it counts the most. On the heels of this news, I wonder that Bob Arum won't retract or reconsider the statements he made on IFL TV, the statements that we just discussed, that, they might have to let Terrence Crawford go because keeping him may be more expensive than it's worth to them. A lot of people really want to play the blame game here when Bob Arum and Top Rank are not to blame for Terrence Crawford's situation, because neither Bob Arum and Top Rank can deliver Crawford the super fights he needs on their own. You need ready, willing, and able dance partners who aren't going to play fucking games at the negotiation table.
That's what's been missing.
It's not that Bob Arum doesn't believe in this guy. He does. He says he's willing to back him to beat Danny Garcia, to beat Errol Spence Jr. in the same night. That Errol Spence Jr. will continue to avoid that fight for as long as he can because he knows he can't beat Terrence Crawford. The truth is that You know, both of these guys, Terrence, Errol, they'd like a Pacquiao fight, but neither of the two are likely to get it. And the next best thing would have to be for them to face each other. What if the Errol Spence Jr. versus Danny Garcia numbers aren't very encouraging? I mean, what if? What if it's just a meager 300,000 or even less, 250,000 in this pandemic, in this economy? What if the numbers aren't what they want them to be? That would put Errol Spence Jr. in a situation to where if he wants to have a super fight,
Big one.
provided he beats Danny, better still, if he does, and the numbers aren't great, they're not what you wanted him to be, you can't get a Pacquiao fight because Pacquiao's likelier to fight Mikey Garcia and Conor McGregor than he is to fight either one of you two guys. If it happens that way, there's no reason in the world that Terrence and Errol shouldn't fight. And there's no reason in the world that the boxing community, the boxing fans, the ones that actually pay to see this sport, there's no reason they shouldn't put the pressure on Errol to stop pussyfooting around, stop beating around the bush, and fight Terrence Crawford. I want to see Crawford versus Spence in 2021. I don't want to see a Porter rematch. I don't want to see a Thurman fight. You're not going to waste my time and you're not going to get my dime with those filler fights. The time is now. If Errol beats Danny, there's no reason in the world that he should fight anyone other than Terrence Crawford, because in beating Danny, that will prove that Errol Spence is back to his winning ways, that he can still compete at this level as a unified welterweight champion. Reason would there be if he beats Danny to drag this out and prolong this any further? You're the best. You're king shit. You're the unified champion. The pay-per-view draw, the A-side. Okay, so fight the fucking guy already. What are you waiting for?
I just make the goddamn fight.